Hey everybody, Michael Bryson here for This Is Bodybuilding. Coming off the pages of Instagram and into the channel of YouTube for our first video for This Is Bodybuilding's YouTube channel. So for the first YouTube video, I thought what better thing to talk about than the Mr. Olympia contest that's coming up this September 14th and 15th at the Orleans Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. There's 19 guys competing in total, but I'm going to talk about the guys who I think are going to place in the top 7. So the first guy I'm going to talk about is Brandon Currie. Brandon Currie placed 8th last year, just like he did in his debut in 2011. It was probably his best look ever. He worked with Abdullah out of Kuwait in Oxygen Gym, put on a lot of size, a lot of mass, and this year he's continued to do the same thing. I think we're going to see him better than ever. I'm going to say that he's going to probably place anywhere from 3rd to 7th, but probably most likely in 4th or 5th. Next up, I'm going to talk about Willie Winkler. Willie placed 6th last year. I think he should have been in the top 5, possibly even as high as 4th last year. He did place 4th in the Arnold Classic this year at Columbus, Ohio. I think he deserved at least 3rd there. He could possibly have been placed as high as 2nd. But he did win the following week at the Arnold Classic in Australia, where he beat the reigning Arnold Classic champion William Banach in a very, very close battle. Willie has worked really hard to bring down his midsection, his waistline. He's added tremendous conditioning over the past year. I think that he could place as high as 3rd this year if he brings in that same conditioning. If he doesn't, he's still going to end up in the top 6. Willie Winkler is probably the most impressive mass monster I've ever seen in person. When he hits that front double bicep when he first comes out, audiences literally gasp. He's an amazing, amazing bodybuilder, and I think he'll place very, very well this year. Next up, I'm going to talk about Shawn Rhoden. Shawn Rhoden placed 5th last year. It was a bit of a disappointing placing for him, as he placed 2nd the year before. He went through a pretty rough prep where he had broken his jaw kind of early in the prep and spent a lot of time having to intake his protein and all of his nutrients through a straw. Putting all his food into a blender wasn't the best prep for him. He came in a little bit smaller and looked a little flat on Friday night last year. But on Saturday night when he came in, it was like a different bodybuilder altogether. He and Chris Aceto must have done some sort of magic, I don't know, but he was completely different on Saturday. His muscles had the pop to them again. His conditioning from the back was amazing. And it was a well-deserved top 5 placing. Recently, Shawn gave a pretty controversial interview on Jay Cutler TV, where he actually said that he believes he should be a 2-time Mr. Olympia, feeling that he deserved to have won in 2015 and in 2016. He also said some pretty unflattering things about Phil Heath as Mr. Olympia, claiming that he has done nothing for the sport over the last 7 years as Mr. Olympia, and that as Mr. Olympia, he should have done a whole lot more for the sport than he did. Sometimes I think guys say things like this as the show is nearing to stir the pot and try to create some controversy, make it a little more interesting for people to watch the show. And I'll chalk it up to that for Shawn, because I don't know if he really believes some of the things that he said. Shawn's an amazing bodybuilder. He's a great posing artist, and I have no doubt that he will once again place in the top 7, maybe as high as 4th this year. But Shawn, if he wins the September 15th, will have been 43 for 5 months, making him the oldest bodybuilder in history to have won his first Olympia. So Shawn has a chance of making history. It'll be a big moment for him and a big moment for old guys everywhere. Which brings us to Dexter Jackson. Dexter Jackson is 2.5 months away from turning 49. If he wins this show, he will not only be the oldest Mr. Olympia in the history of Mr. Olympia, he will be the 2nd man in history to have ever won the title, lost the title, and won it back. The first person to ever do that was Jay Cutler in 2009, coincidentally after having lost the title to Dexter Jackson in 2008. Now, if it's anyone other than Dexter Jackson, I would say we could continue to expect him to slide down the ladder But Dexter looked so amazing at the Arnold Classic this year where he placed second to the great William Banach. I think we got to expect him to look amazing come September 14th. Dexter shows really no sign of slowing down. If he comes in ripped to shreds like he most likely will, because he's called the Blade for a reason, he's always sharp, I think he will do very, very well for himself, like most likely in the top 4. 5th at the worst. So next up, I'm going to talk about William Banach. Now, William placed 3rd last year in the Mr. Olympia contest, in a contest that I thought that he was a pretty solid 2nd in. A lot of people will disagree with that, but fuck them. When it comes to physiques, Williams is about as complete as can be. He's really missing nothing. He's got amazing arms, his chest, his back is insane, and his legs are great. Now, the knock on William has always been that he's too short or too narrow. Too short or too narrow for what exactly? He's the Arnold Classic champion. This cat over here going crazy. Okay, loves the video. Anyway, for the Olympia, I personally think William will place 2nd this year. Next up, Big Rami. Big Rami is undoubtedly the most popular bodybuilder on the planet today. He's definitely the largest at about 5'10" and over 300 pounds on stage. He's an amazing sight to be seen. People sometimes think I hate on Big Rami, and nothing could be further from the truth. I think he's an amazing bodybuilder, and he's a very nice guy. Me saying that I believe he deserved 3rd instead of 2nd last year at the Olympia is not hating on him. It's just merely my opinion of a bodybuilding contest. I think Big Rami is absolutely one of the greatest bodybuilders on the planet today, and he will definitely place in the top 7. Most likely he will be 3rd or even 2nd this year. If he's really ripped to the bone this year, he'll definitely be 2nd. But I don't know. I don't think he's going to have enough to hold back William Banach. And finally, Phil the Gift Heath. Now, Phil Heath last year won his 7th consecutive Mr. Olympia title, tying the great Arnold Schwarzenegger in the process. This year, if he wins number 8, he will tie the great Lee Haney's record set back in 1991. In 2005, that record was tied by the great Ronnie Coleman. This win for Phil will put him in very rare company. That's a very motivating element for a guy like Phil Heath, who's already probably the most motivated and determined athlete on the planet. Last year, Phil was suffering from a double hernia, which brought his aesthetics under fire by some critics. Now, he had surgery in October to repair the injuries, and recent photos show his midsection and waistline are much improved. In my personal opinion, Phil's musculature is the most astounding ever by any bodybuilder. He has full, round muscle bellies everywhere. He always comes into shows in crazy conditioning, shredded glutes and hamstrings. This year, with the injury repaired, he is likely to be at his very best. And if so, he wins. If he's not his very best, but he's close to his best, he also wins. So, thanks for watching, everybody. That was the first video for This Is Bodybuilding's YouTube channel. If you liked the video, please hit like and subscribe, and don't forget to comment about how fat and bald I am.